Steve, hi, how's it going? Subscribe, like, do whatever you want. In this video, I'm going through creative process of taking a loop and building it out into different sections in session view. So as part of the creative process of saying, right, I'm making an album, how am I going to make it, what am I going to do? I've realized that this is actually the best way for me to work, because if I create a load of different variations, a lot of different things going on in session view, when I take it to arrangement, I'm not stuck in the loop and I've got things I can just place, I can move around, and from there I'm then able to actually make a much better arrangement, and I'm able to do it more creatively and much more easily. It's more fun, basically. So here you go. This is where I am. I've got one loop and a tiny little bit done on the other bit. So this is what the loop sounds like. There we go, it's kind of a rolling thing and it sort of bails up there. So the way that I like to do this now for building stuff out is think of ideas, is take isolated sections of the track and bring it down and see what else we can do. So I've created something here which isn't really too different from what I've got anyway. So if I go completely into a new thing, I'll take something like, say, this square synth. Quite like that thing there anyway. And the pad, if I play the pad in this is actually gated, so it's got a really big reverb using the Supermassive, and I'm using that trigger for it. So if I isolate the pad, so I've got additional reverb on it and I've got a little bit of delay on it as well. So it's a really nice sound, but what I can do with that, which I kind of like to do, if I take the pad trigger down there and the pad down there, what I'm going to do is just drag that chord over there. And I'm going to make this, going to delete that, make that 2 bars long, and then I'm going to export the audio. Now I know a lot of people do this whole freeze flatten thing, but I'm not a major fan of that. I'd prefer to have it in a samples folder, and then I can actually take it out. I can use it in other tracks as well. So I've got a samples folder just for the album that I'm working on. So we can now get rid of those. I can open up, if I just duplicate that, so I've got another pad track, and I'm going to delete what I've got here. Delete that, delete the gate. I might keep the delay in there a little bit. And if I go into the album folder, look at the samples, and we've got mixed rhythm pad, drag that in there to create. And we have so what I'm going to do is bring that there, yeah, take that down an octave. Got a nice different sound. We've still got a lot of stuff going on with it. I'm going to make that a 3-bar loop, going to drag that out there. I'll see what that sounds like next to it. That's great. I want to give that a bit more reverb. Definitely want to give it more volume. And then we can duplicate that. Sit there, move them along a little bit. create a kind of separate section. So -6 there. Yeah, we start to hit the other synthesizers. Building on that, forgetting about the original piece. So and at this stage, it's just about improvising, seeing what fits, seeing what works, and then being like, right, I'm going to take something else, which would be this bass track. See what. So let's take the D. Look at something rhythmic with that. So I'll make that into a 2-bar loop. If we bring this with a little bit of a rhythm. Have that on there. We've got bass growl. See what that sounds like with it. Quite nice with that, just keeping it like it is. So we've got this rhythm track. This is effectively a drum and bass rhythm. So what I did was I've done quite a lot of processing on it, did a little bit of a drum and bass beat, took out the low end, and I made it into a sort of high rhythm line. So what I'm going to do with that, I'm going to duplicate that, and then we're going to change it up a little bit. So instead of using transients, let's use 16ths. Let's make it forwards. Let's knock the envelope up a little bit and see how that sounds. Get that one on. Good. Quite make it a little bit snappier like that. Pop ping pong on that. Float it around the head a little bit. What could be quite nice on this is if we actually get a beat repeat. Let's grab a beat repeat. We'll use. Oh, it's a good one. Deconstruct. See how that works. But what we're going to do is I'm going to group that. And I'm just going to create a new chain as a dry chain. So I'll just knock that down a little bit. See what this sounds like, and that's so the beat repeat chain is really loud. Maybe up the chance of that. All right. That's got 1/64th. We'll do it with 32s. Gives us a little bit more going on with the rhythmic pattern. It's good. So those variations. Knock the gate down a little bit. And we're going to make that a little bit louder because it's down a bit too low there. See what that sounds like with it. Quite loud. So the limit is there because it's quite uneven and I didn't want it peaking too much. I didn't want too many things going on there. We'll have that at 0. Let's try that bass there. An octave lower. Now that feels like, I see it's got the noise on it there. If I turn that off, that works really nicely, but that just needs to be a little bit quieter. Because this noise unison adds a lot of width, and because it's a bass sound, you don't want too much width on it. So what I could also do is use the utility just to bass mono it. See what that looks without. Yeah, I think I prefer it without that actually. But just a little bit quieter on the one that's got the noise unison on it, just so it doesn't overpower it and make it too sort of wide. That's good. And now we've got this pad here, but let's duplicate this pad, and without the gate on it, again, see what we can do. We'll have a little play around. We've got 3 different wavetables. There's quite a lot going on in them. We've got the Valhalla. I'm going to take the gate off and just going to put the mix of it down, put the feedback down so we haven't got quite so much going on. So you're going to get relatively the same pad, but you're just changing it around a little bit, so which is nice. So look, we've got some basic sound waves there, basic sound waves there. We've got unison on that, no unison on that. This one's got the shimmer on it, so let's change a couple of, we'll put that on there. We'll just randomly change what we've got. Alright, and let's drag this down here. See how that works. Alright, I'm going to grab that, stick it up an octave, so we've got first inversion. We're going to stick it back a bit as well. Stick that there. That works quite nicely. So we've got quite a similar thing going on. So if you listen to this pad when it's here, and then you listen to this pad here when it eventually kicks in. There's a lot of similarities with them, but it's still slightly different. So you're creating something which is just a little bit different to what else is there. And then just for the fun of it, let's put ping pong on that. Let's turn it up, turn the feedback up, and then that will give us a little bit extra width to it. That works quite nicely. So on there, this is kind of having a total disregard from what I've already done. It's just bringing it down, doing something completely different with it, and then just seeing what sticks. So the strings, again, I've got a gate on the strings, so I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to take the gate off the duplicated strings and see what that sounds like. I'm going to turn that big reverb down, put more of a room verb on it, up the saturation, 8th note delay I've got on there as well. What we'll do is pop that over there, and I'm going to take the top note of each one but maybe put it up an octave. See what that sounds like if they're playing the two of them together. I'll probably take that and go. And then that one there. Just to add a little bit of something to it. Might actually use pseudo width on there. And this is a reason that plugin using crush strings. Patch that I've made myself. A lot of messing about just to crush the stringwork samples in on it. I think what I want to do with that is actually, let's go down to the Redux. Let's take some dust. Quite like it. Take the dry wet down, or take the right down as well. So that gives quite a nice top end thing to it, but it's quite messy, quite played around with. And because we're duplicating, we're using something, it's slightly different way of using it. And what I do quite like doing is, let's say, taking rhythmic tracks. I've got this deep rhythm track here, which I'll solo. And this was putting a basic drum loop through the emit device in Ableton, which just created this weird thing. And again, it's going through compressor. Sidechain to the kick as well. Also got a glue compressor, just keeping the peaks down so there's not too much of it. But it's a really, really nice track. So if I duplicate that again, by the way, I've got a rumble track there because I'm using it on a few things. It works quite nicely. In fact, I'll stick it on in this with this new rhythm track, which I'm going to put on the next line because I think otherwise it's going to get a little bit too much. We've got delay on both of them. I'm going to take away that. I'm going to keep the glue compressor there. But what we're going to do is put some dirt and grit at the end of it. Sounds good. I'm going to put it up an octave. Again. I'm also going to take out some of this low end. Knock it down to its notes. Keep that there. Actually, yeah, we'll do it lower. That works quite nicely. You can see I've macroed a few things here. Right, and in the rumble track, let's take that and got a rumble effect. That's going to be fairly loud, so I'm going to take that. It's going to the drum bus. I'm going to take it from there. Call that one rhythm 2. So we'll take it from rhythm 2. Also, if I don't need a solo anymore, if I'm just using this line. And what's happening there? And I actually got this from Underdog, which is cool. So I built this from watching one of the Underdog channel videos. So that now without this, this gives us a really, really nice deep booming tone with it as well, which we can knock up the drive and crunch on. And what we need to do is just bring in the side chain. We'll just use the peak set to compress it. It's also got a compressor coming in from the kick, which is fine if we bring the kick down. There we go, so that's affecting that if we keep that as it is. And then we can just start playing around with something else as well. So the signs that we've got there, let's see what this sounds like here. Do it from here. Okay, let's drag that along. Duplicate that and bring it over here. Obviously got a gate, we could actually bring that down and have the same thing that we've got going on up there. Pad one trigger. Probably keep that to that. And then we can add that. Could put the growl onto that. And if we look at that, how it's changed from there. Into this. Yeah, we take that back into original. We've also got this second line, which is quite basic. Now this is called noise. I'm going to duplicate this because it's basically a noise riser. I'm going to stick it down here as a new channel. Put that all the way to the end. Same for that one. And then we'll just have that going as it should do, which is I'll put the release time up to around about a second. And then make that 4 bars and probably put that on the 2. And we can start playing around with a slightly different rhythmic thing again. We'll put that high rhythm on there. And this air synth. Let's take the pad stuff. See what happens with that. Get the bottom off. Keeping to the same theme I had before, but that noise we actually do want on the room verb, I want it on the main verb. It's quite loud. Higher up on that. Again, creating something slightly different. I'll create a bit more pseudo width on that. Quite nice with that, so I'll keep that on there. Nice to do this without the kick, and also be really nice. I'll duplicate that just so it goes to the same box. I'm going to bring in. I'm actually going to keep that audio effect right on it. Bring in clicks and hits too. I'm just going to randomly chuck stuff on there. See what that sounds like. We'll knock that down. So it's slightly different rhythmically. Just add a little bit more in. I'm going to select all and I'm going to take the chance down to late 80s, so a few of them aren't going to play. Let's hit that to the width. So starting from that. So basically now I've got all this stuff and I'm free now to take them all the sections and figure out what to start with, because that's my main beat. That's always going to be the main thing. But you want these break sections or beginning sections or end sections, whatever it might be. That builds up quite nicely to the main theme if you're going into this. This feels like a nice break section. I mean, I've just been doing these in isolation, seeing what works. This is either an alt section or it's after it builds up initially before it then goes into this big main section again. So depending on how I cut this has been going for 34 minutes. So in 34 minutes, just by playing around, doing a little few techniques, seeing what happens, I've now got a load of different variations and I can start building out a track from it. The key thing about this is making mistakes if you want to make mistakes. I might come back to this afterwards and say it sounds crap, but the main point is that I've got variations, I've got things I can work on, so I can go back into it and go, I don't like that, I don't like that, I'm going to remove it, I'm going to cut it down a bit, there's too much going on, there's not enough going on, however it feels, but I've got start points for loads of different variations and it's really easy to jump in and be creative from there and then drag it over. I feel like I need to do this before I can take it to arrangement. I need to have defined section to find things to do, and then I can start tying it all together, and then it becomes much more fun to actually go into arrangement. Whereas if I do it without that, I kind of get a little bit lost sometimes. Thank you very much. Cheers.